Okay. 1, 2, 3. Cool. So, I'm back. Rico's back.
Hello.
From the first one. But we have a guest tonight. His name is Sam. Last name?
Aberdeen.
Okay. I'll edit that out. We'll bleep you. So yeah, we actually are 3 people tonight. And what we're going to be discussing is a bit of a linked discussion to our previous podcast where we covered the summer anime coming out this season. Because honestly, I thought it was a little bit shitty. Nothing really worth watching. Maybe 4 animes at most, but nothing really on my radar. I know you haven't really checked it out, Sam. I don't know if there's anything apart from the Guitar series that you're obviously a fan of, but was there anything else that caught your eye?
Nothing really. I mean, I'm looking through it all now, and the thing that caught my attention was Gamers, but like I said, I haven't heard of Studio Pine Jam yet, so I'm not too sure what that is.
Yeah, we actually did check out Studio Pine Jam last time, and like I said, they're a very up and small coming company. They haven't really done anything worthwhile. I mean, if you check them out, they've done specials, TV shorts, ONYAs, they did, and that's it. They've literally done nothing. So they're pretty much a brand new studio. So yeah, and then Eureka as well, you felt the same more or less?
Look, generally with a studio that's done nothing, I mean, it's a nice blank slate sort of, in that we obviously don't have any pedigree to put them against, but it can make for a very nice surprise. And I mean, just looking at the tags, it's something I personally would gravitate to, so I'm keen on that.
But Gamers really, it literally feels like they're pandering to the audience of, we know people are into gaming nowadays, we know people are into anime nowadays, and we know people are lonely as fuck. So here's the fantasy of you meeting all these coincidentally attractive women and all cool dudes that you really like get on with, and you guys are just gonna have a ball. To me, that just seems really dumb.
Look, like I said, we'll have to see where this one goes. I think it might be fun to watch, but if this is the same one we were talking about last time, we did kind of just touch on how it was a bit too much of a pandering situation. But go into it, see what's up, and if it's good, just enjoy it, I guess.
Panda situation. Alrighty, so we've actually just flicked back to the 2016 summer anime list, because now we're just going to do a direct comparison, because personally I found that over my years of watching anime, especially because the industry's boomed so much, summer and winter tend to be your absolute fucking great shows that they pick out for the year. And then spring and autumn will have some okay things, but it will tend to be a little bit more low-key, a little bit more low budget, maybe a season 2 of something smaller. So yeah, I mean, just off the bat, the very first anime, Mob Psycho by Bones.
Oh yes,
It was great.
Yes, but that's again universal reaction. That everyone was like, "Fucking great." I mean, if we just skim the list, we're not going to go super in depth. If you guys see something, by the way, that you fucking want to talk about, please point it out. Again, I'm skipping.
Yeah, Real Life was actually pretty cool. Watch that. It's based off of a manga, but really fun watch. And Orange as well, 91 Days too, really good. And I mean, if we do take a look at what's on offer this year, I mean, the contrast right off the bat is really clear.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I noticed is, it seems in the summer season spring and summer is where they cram most of their really good shows. But 2016 had really some amazing things. Shokugeki no Soma, the second season, was unbelievable. I enjoyed it a lot. Obviously Mob Psycho, and then the previous year I think One Punch Man came out in summer. I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah,
wasn't One Punch Man towards the end of 2015?
It was a fall or summer.
No, I think it was a fall or winter release.
Yeah,
but I could be mistaken.
We'll go back.
But we cannot skip over the absolute masterpiece that was Berserk.
Which is a pity.
A bastion of good production quality and animation.
You know, it's he's being a sarcastic cunt in case no one can notice, but Berserk is criminalized at this point because it is so unbelievably bad compared to how amazing the manga is. The manga to me is truly a work of art. It's a bit dark and really overly psychological in some points, but by and large I really enjoy it. Whereas then you come to the anime, and I know they're trying to save budget, But then surely that says, have a little bit more static story scenes rather than CG up your important scenes with terrible CG. Because again, if Bubuki Buranki, a low-key, no-one anime can have flawless mixture between 2D and 3D animation and CG, how does Berserk, again, one of the most praised mangas of all time, land in the studio of fuck all the tree? It really blows my mind. Sam, I know you enjoy Berserk as well, so I want to hear your thoughts about it.
Look, I'm still not sold on the whole CG thing. I haven't watched the second season yet, but the first was a lot of mixed feelings. I think the CG just put me off. Before that, like Knights of Sidonia especially, it was just out there. So I'm not really adjusted to this art style in Berserk, but I'm like a lot of people said season 2 is really good, so I'm willing to give that a chance as well.
I don't know.
I mean, literally take everything you said about Berserk and sort of apply to Honda-kun, and it works the same way. Where it's sort of that's one show I was actually looking forward to because I really enjoyed Barakamon. So I wanted to see like a prequel that did it justice, and Honda-kun was on the same level of Berserk in that it disappointed just flat out.
No, I think as a title, Berserk, the big thing with Berserk is that it's Berserk, man. I mean, the manga was god tier. It was pretty much on a pedestal, and people had such expectations for the anime. And it comes out, and for lack of better terminology, whereas with something like Honda-kun, I mean, it was also let down, but the expectation, or at least for me personally, it's the first time I'm seeing this. I never watched that last year. The expectation just wasn't as high for it. Whereas with something like Berserk, you're gonna make your money if you give it the resources it's due, which they didn't, which is puzzling.
Yeah, like you said, Berserk is such a widely praised show, but to give it to like a no-name company, no, it's not going to Bones, it's not going to Madhouse, it's some no-name company, and that really shows. I mean, I don't know if there were some legal issues in which studio got hold of the property, but yeah, I would have loved to see Berserk done in like Madhouse's style with that budget, sort of the One Punch Man budget.
Maybe not. Maybe they were worried about it being too similar compared to previous studios, because if you add it to Bones, people would just be like, oh, it's like Mob Psycho, but it feels like a cheap Mob Psycho. Because Bones lately have been experimenting with their very elongated art styles where the characters have these crazy animations, crazy over the top stuff. I think that's why we've seen them pick up a couple webcomics lately like Mob Psycho, because it's so over the top and crazy. There's no like, oh, we need to kind of base it in reality, we have to keep proportions in. When the fights get crazy, all the color palettes come out, all the animation styles come out. So I think Madhouse would have been a better option, especially because they tend to favor 2D a little bit more. But maybe because Madhouse Manglobe went under. But Madhouse aren't doing so fantastic either. Maybe there is a money issue, because maybe they can't guarantee that they'll be able to fund it. Maybe the studio were like, okay, give us literally half of whatever the studio does and we'll do it. So I don't know.
Ultimately, though, the piece is judged by the quality it's released in. So irrespective of the circumstances, it's a pity, if nothing else.
No, absolutely agree. And then, I mean, we also had 7 Deadly Sins.
Oh, yes.
I never actually watched that one.
Phenomenal.
Great show.
Yeah. It's very much that fantasy set genre, but much more the fantasy than the fighting. Like, the fights are far and few in between. The first season really spends a lot of time setting up the universe, setting up these characters. What are their goals? What are their backgrounds? Why are they all important? Because again, as it says, 7 Deadly Sins, there's 7+ characters involved. I absolutely loved it. It was a really cool experience.
It was definitely unique. Most people don't. They sort of brushed over it last year, but I think it deserves a little bit more attention, personally. Just because it is like a shonen type of thing, and this is the same time Mob Psycho came out, so people are really not sold on the whole shonen genre just yet, because Mob Psycho was like the talk of the town, and felt like 7 Deadly Sins just went under the radars there.
Yeah, 100%. But even when the very first season came out, because this is the 4-part original story that kind of got released in the 2016 summer. Seven Deadly Sins just really, it did go under the radar. 100% agree. Other things outshone it. I see a lot more fan appreciation. Something like Overlord, which came out in a closed time period, versus this. So it is a massive pity. I've been just skimming over here. There's some, even A1 Pictures did 2 animes this season. I don't even notice that. Caladia Code, and then what else did they do? I'm sure I saw them leaning around here. Oh, just the one. My mistake. I mean, A1 Pictures is phenomenal. People will know them recently for Era Manga Sensei, the God masterpiece, the Lollipalooza. But no, A1 Picture in general has done some fantastic stuff. I didn't get to Caladia Code. I actually skimmed over it. I mean, anything else that's jumping out to you guys?
Hatsukoi Monster. Yes, I watched that.
Wait, what?
Hatsukoi Monster. Studio Dean.
Oh yeah, there.
It was a really strange anime. It was one of those. It's really trashy, but it embraces its trashiness to the full extent. It has these characters that are clearly like 12 and 13 years old, drawn to look like 21-year-olds, and the main character especially, he's like 13, but he's interacting with these lolly girls, and the contrast there, it's kind of weird, because it's not really bad per se, but it's not really good either. It's just breaching that line of, is this really acceptable? Because the characters are drawn in that specific way that you sort of get a bit jarred when you see an older man who's actually 13 years old interacting with a younger girl. So, but that, it embraces it. Like I said, it's a very trashy show. It has fun with it.
Well, yeah, there's a place for pretty much every anime. I mean, it takes a lot for me to have a boundary where I'm like, nope, I'm done.
Hatsukoi Monster definitely pushed that for me, I think. But within the context of the show, it makes sense, but it still was like on that border.
And then let's see, we got some brains-based stuff, but brains-based kind of fell off the way for me with after Jura and Bacana. They just never really did anything phenomenal. I think Penguin Drum came out after that as well, so that Penguin Drum was really cool. But I mean, everything I see brains-based now, I do give a skip. They don't even stand out to me.
Even just like the little kind of pack shot there, if you look at the title, it reminds me a lot of Jura already.
Yeah, the exclamation.
Just the way, like, and the color as well. They use the same color scheme. It's something weird.
And your two young main characters like Durara, Darkhead versus the brown hair. Brown hair kid looks a lot more modest. Dark hair kid looks a lot more rebellious. They do feel like they became a lot more formulaic, which is weird because the two animes that broke them off that were non-formulaic. Literally, the storytelling wasn't A to B to C. It was throw all the letters onto the table and pick them up and rearrange the puzzle, and then when they're done, it makes sense. So it's a massive pity to see them go from redefining how we tell stories in anime, as you say, to formulaic. Like, the fact is you can see similarities between their previous projects, but not in a good way. There was a second one for A1 Pictures. Yay, Boy Project.
I don't think I've seen that.
I haven't seen either, but the fact that it's called Beat Projects.
Yeah, let's not.
The anime story follows Tsubaki, a new hire in the A&R department of the major recording company Gundala Music. Tsubaki is immediately assigned to oversee the Alien B project, which is made up of 3 other groups. 1, 2, and 3, I'm not going to say them. He has Tsubaki's first job, and she gets involved in various incidents and accidents as she deals with a group of young men who each have their own different personalities. So it's reverse harem.
Reverse harem.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I don't know why we call it reverse harem. Technically, reverse harem would be like monogamy, but I know where they're coming from. It's like reverse rape, but different. But I mean, already just us skimming in between us 3, and then Thunderbolt Fantasy. Oh, fantastic stuff.
Never watched that.
No. What is
Didn't ReZero also release in the summer?
ReZero, no.
ReZero was fall.
Was it fall?
Yeah, it was previous.
Oh wait, no, it's in the leftovers section.
Yeah, ReZero, White Fox.
Nice.
My favorite anime of the year last year, I'd say.
I would watch it if it wasn't fucking spoiled. I mean, so that was really a good, 2016. So if we just quickly jump back to 2015, already off the picture, A1 Picture hitting it strong with the second season of Gate. Gate was absolutely phenomenal. I don't know if you two have seen Gates,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of the first season.
and you've watched this.
I have watched it, yes. I thought it was really good. It gets a lot of flack for being, the whole fantasy coming into our world type of thing. It's been done to death. But Gate has a unique spin in it. I like it.
Well, because Gates is so grounded, this guy he's an otaku, but he's functional, like a lot of people in the world, I feel.
Yeah.
I'm kind of sick of seeing the connotation. It worked in certain instances, like I think Welcome to the NHK manga really nailed the people with the hardcore NEET syndrome in terms of like agoraphobia, which is a hardcore fear of going out, to the point where it physically cripples your life. And they did it in such a way that they captured how emotionally crippling it is, how it just ruins your life, ruins your relationships, and brings your life to a halt. And I think that's a very real problem for a lot of people. But then anime started to take that, instead of seeing it as that, they were like, oh, otakus, they're just useless. And I know people are going to be like, oh, but Byron, otaku is such a derogatory term in Japland, but like, we're not there. It's just, we're referring to people that watch anime and have similar interests, but actually genuinely pursue those. Again, Gates, he is an otaku who has anime interests and stuff. He even has like anime girls on his phone, and he's looking at the releases. And when shit hits the fan, he's like, oh, actually, I'm a part of the military. I can actually do a job outside of this. So I love the fact that Gates painted the light of, people can watch anime or have similar type interests no matter what it is and still be functional.
And I also enjoyed how they sort of did the whole. I'm a big fan of your whole world displacement kind of genre as well. It's like Log Horizon, that sort of thing. I absolutely love world displacement. And with this, I really liked how grounded they were and how they handled it. Because these guys, it got the whole feeling of propaganda behind it. People were crying, oh, but this is propaganda in favor of Japan because these guys are just curb stomping everything on the other side of the portal, my Japanese military. And I actually rather enjoyed it because it felt like, okay, yeah, this would actually happen if like a portal to a medieval fantasy world opened up in the middle of a city. It was disastrous at first because no one expected it, but then after that, they pushed back and they started kicking
and you see the dragons flying around, people are like, oh fuck, we're quarter of God, then here come the fighter jets just fucking murking everything. And as you said, that's why I said it was very grounded, because I can see that happening again, unless you have people that come through the portal with crazy over the top fantasy powers and have way over the top fantasy elements that defy our reality. As you say, a medieval world, even with something like dragons and stuff, unless they like written that they're impervious to everything, they're going to get curb stomped by traditional military, which they do. And again, that's what I really loved about it.
Speaking of world displacement though, Overlord was actually also pretty good.
I
I didn't realize it released in 2015. I only got around to watching it I think earlier this year and absolutely loved it. It's a guilty pleasure. I love how almost Mary Sue-ish the protagonist was. I absolutely really just enjoyed watching him kick the shit out of everything.
No, and it's true, because he's very lateral-minded about things, in terms of he's like, oh, I'm actually a spooky skelly man now, but this is all set in this fantasy world I'm somewhat familiar with. He goes on, he does slow recon, he knows his minions still know him and are loyal to him, but as you say, he knows he's super strong because he's got all these powers and stuff, and he checks everything. He's like, okay, I've kind of got it grounds, I'm still as strong as I think I am. And he just fucks everything up.
And I mean, if you look at the first time he goes out to try and save that town, just when he finds those first two guys, like he literally just grabs the one guy's heart, crushes it, and the other guy is literally mortified. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd be keen to watch a second season if we're ever graced with one.
Well, they said no, second season has been confirmed, huh?
I did not know that. That makes me very, very happy.
Because it's ironic, because I was actually writing an article about, these are the animes I think that read in your second season. Overlord was in there, was actually the pack shots, and then literally like 4 days later they were like, oh, we've announced this. I was like, fuck you. it was literally just before the post was going, I started to edit that out. But again, I'm super excited because it's not a spin-off like Dan Mark. He has like a spin-off now. It's an actual proper season 2 of Overlord.
And I'm curious to see where they're going to go with it as well, because surely he could not have been, well, I'm suspecting they wouldn't have made him the only character kind of sucked into that world. Maybe he'll meet another player or something who's also become so strong, but is on another side or whatever. I'm very excited to see where he's going to go.
Well, they kind of do tell you how big the world is, because even just by looking at the mountains, he's like, oh shit, I really wish I could get to the mountains. There must be some crazy stuff there. Just quickly before we head into anything kind of spoilerish, have you watched?
I have not seen Overlord yet. So.
Okay, so we'll quickly skim over one detail and then we'll loop to the rest of the season, because I felt this season was very strong. He even mentions things like, there's no mythical creatures he runs into in particular, but then he's like, oh fuck, he sees a dragon in the far distance. He's like, yeah, well, I kind of need that for my research and shit. So, but he even says that he needs to really stockpile and stuff before he can take on a drag. So I think they've really set the scope of like, he's really strong, but he's by no means the strongest thing in the land. He's not just
he's very aware and cognizant of what his limits are.
Yeah,
and it's handled so he's not just going on a rampage, but he knows he is strong.
Yeah,
but
he can fuck the peasants up, but he still knows there's something stronger out there.
Yeah, and he's seeing the bigger picture. But anyway.
And then Gangster, I don't know if either of you have watched it.
I haven't seen it. This is definitely it's on my to watch list personally. A colleague of mine was watching it and he sang its praises. I watched like one or two clips and it just came out swinging for me. So that's definitely on my to watch list.
Yeah. Gangster was one of the last Miss Manglobe did before they closed down. Right studio. But Gangster, for me, it's a pity that we're not getting a season 2. It is a bit criminal, but it was kind of, set in that more realistic anime fashion in terms of characters don't go cartoony. There's nothing too over the top. It's also, again, every anime is over the top to one way or another because it has to exaggerate. But in terms of anime scope, it's grounded. Everyone has good, evenly drawn proportions. They're drawn the same every time, etc. It's set in a real town in South America. But in terms of that like criminal-minded thing, it's the closest thing that I've got to German Gone / Black Lagoon since those two ended. So Gangster was awesome. Overlord was awesome, as we covered. Prison School was amazing.
Yes.
I haven't seen Prison School yet.
JC Staff's been killing it this season. Prison School and Shimoneta. Wow.
Yeah. Prison School
really good shows.
was one of the shows that actually we were discussing earlier, if I recall now. I remember seeing it and I was like, oh my god, this literally looks like trash. But then I ran out of things to watch. I was like, let me watch the first 3 episodes, or 2 episodes even, because it's a short series. Watched it. And I have not been so emotionally behind a character so hard in such a long time. Because it deals with the savage hypocrisy of people nowadays. These kids literally get in prison in their school because they're in the wrong gender at the wrong time. And I think it's quite relevant to today's times. And I think JC Staff feel very strong about that, doing Prison School and Shimoneta in the same season.
Both are really satirical, actually.
Yeah, well, Shimoneta's more satirical, telling something about the real world through a lot more joking means, whereas Prison School's a lot more literal, because there's literally a part of one of the things in Prison School that they address is kind of like, there's 4 or 5 different characters that have different points of authority, and they all judge the same person in vastly different ways, because they all kind of say, well, in a very like dramatic irony way, they kind of go, oh, this is kind of the lens and the measurement I judge other people by. He measures up to it, thus he cannot be bad. But then they all make these positive judgments, yet he still gets dicked over in the end. So it's really about this, even though we're in positions of power, we still look at people and go, well, I'm not going to look at you based on your actions. I'm going to have some sort of preconception and then judge you from that, and then we'll go forward. And for me, it really spoke a lot. But again, it has got that hyper etchy vibe to it. It really is like the green of 2015. Like it's just boobs and tits and hormones everywhere. But it had some wonderfully unique moments. And if I'm not mistaken, it had a voice actress from the Bakemonogatari series. If I'm not mistaken. No, not Bakemonogatari. Arakawa Under the Bridge. The crazy farmer girl.
Really?
Yes, she's in here.
No.
Yeah, she's one of the crazy prison wardens that does the weirdest shit you've ever seen.
Oh my goodness.
What's her name? Hannah.
Yeah. She's Hannah, dude. So Hannah does some weird shit, and she's like, oh, and you just see in the voice, he's like, oh, crazy vegetable girl, what are you doing? And then UFO Table just next to that though, God Eater. Don't know if either of you have watched it.
You know what? I watched an episode. I wasn't too impressed with it, if I'm going to be honest.
Okay, and you, Sam?
Same thing. I got, I think, 2-3 episodes in, and I was just, nothing really caught me about it. I mean, the animation was unique, but besides that, nothing about the story, nothing about the characters really caught my attention.
See now, I've actually played quite a bit of God Eater, and I'm loving Burst 2. So when I saw this as a build up to that game, it was amazing. The animation was done that way because they actually used the same animation in the game, so they're indistinguishable. So for me, God Eater was phenomenal, and there are some crazy, crazy cool violent scenes and build up of characters that in previous games are just kind of like, I exist. Instead, now they actually have an active role in the story. So for me, God Eater was phenomenal. But if we take a little scroll down, Monster Musume. Did anyone watch this?
Yes.
I have not. All I know is it is very close to patient zero for the recent boom in Monster Girl animation.
Oh no, it is absolutely the catalyst. The same way Mirai Nikki kind of reignited the yandere craze. Monster Musume actually. We did notice that after that came out, there were just tons of specials and shorts, and the games came out, and Monster Girl High, Interview with Monster Girls, all that cool shit. And I loved it, dude. There was literally only one of the Monster Girls I didn't like, was a bit creepy, because they were like, oh, well, we have people that dig lollies, so now we need a lolly. But she's literally incoherent like a small child, like, oh, this is so creepy. But everything else was really cool, and the main protagonist, I really dug him, because she's like, this is so weird. Get out of my house.
And the government's opened the door like just for like a lot of weird fetishes. I mean, the whole idea of the monster thing, I've seen it done before, not to the extent of Monster Musume though, because you had Rosario Vampire before, but that.
No, but that was tame. They kept everything very
really
anthropomorphized, so you weren't like, oh, this is a wolf girl. It was kind of like a girl with wolf ears is thus a wolf girl, But Monster Musume was, I really dug it, because the one thing I really dug about is the main character was very much like, why are you in my house? The government's threatening me. This is awesome. I love my life. He's so sarcastic and hates everyone. But then he kind of starts going with it, but the amount of monster girls in it was really cool. So, and that for me has always been something I love, is monster girls. It definitely is one of my massive fetishes. So yay, love you, Japan. And then anime you fucking made me watch, which was fucking garbage, was Goku Kurashi. What a load of trash. First 3 episodes, so much potential. Real anime that actually deals with PTSD in such a phenomenal way. Fucking just lands up licking a window. Did you watch it?
I have not.
The tonal shift.
I now know I am probably not missing out on much.
No, you're not. Trust me.
Okay, so to give people like a quick breakdown, it might be in spoiler territory, but to hook people, because it literally has a picture of 4 lolly girls looking ultra cute. It's not about that. It's literally a retake on the zombie apocalypse vibe, but the one girl has PTSD from being so shocked that her friends were literally brutally murdered that she resets her mind and sees the world as not the apocalypse. So she still sees her friends, the class is okay, but everything's run down, everyone's dead, and it's these people surviving in a very real, horrible fashion, and them having to deal with this. It's got very hectic Walking Dead vibes in terms of the intense moments, but like I said, after episode 4, they just repeat the same mechanic, and you're like, okay, cool, that mechanic that was awesome was never developed, and they never go anywhere with it, and it's a massive pity.
And by the end, the show sort of, I don't know if this is going into spoiler territory, but it sort of resets itself at the end, and that was such a kick in the balls.
No, that's what I'm saying. The show literally never goes anywhere. They show you this cool mechanic of like, okay, the girls got PTSD. It's a revitalization of the zombie genre, and then we fade away from it, and it really bugged me a lot. And then I don't know, did anyone watch Umuru-chan? I've seen the memes of it, but I haven't watched it because it was trash.
Have you ever?
No, don't tell me you've watched it, please.
Have you ever looked at something like, Truck Nuts or Minions and thought, okay, I know that's never gonna last, only to kind of realize that you have frighteningly underestimated the staying power of even the shallowest of trains? Yes. That's Umaru-chan.
That's what I'm saying. I know it's got staying power because I've seen the memes and redubs.
Look, you know what? It's kind of like just drudging through a 6-hour dry well for the odd grin or giggle here. No, just don't waste your time. It's trash.
And then we also got Durarara Season 2 that was not done by Brainspace, because that makes sense. I actually haven't got around to watching Season 2 for purely that reason. They've mimicked them really well, but again, I feel that, why would you do your original season and then move away from it? It's really, really bizarre. That's like Bakuman and Gatari giving the franchise away from Shaft to like production IG. Not saying that either studio is good or bad, but like you've just made such a weird tonal shift. But I mean, from what people have told me, they've really enjoyed it. So I mean, that's another feather to put in 2015's cap. Brainspace, however, did the series next to it, Aharu X Kikanju-chan, fucking, what was that, action comedy slice of life. Cool. I mean, I personally haven't read it. It deals with two form a team with an era manga artist to be the best in Japan. To me, that already sounds.
Yeah, let's not.
How can we jump onto doing that project and not do Durarara 2 and just swap the studios around? Like, why couldn't we? Do we actually have some weird monopoly? Anyway, I haven't watched Uchiha Tutorial yet, but it is on my list. I do enjoy the Mappa animations because they make cool action animes. I don't think either of you have watched it yet.
Not yet, but I agree with what you say. Mappa, they did the previous year's Terror in Resonance.
Yeah.
And that was phenomenal. I thought the animation, everything was brilliant.
Yeah.
Terror in Resonance isn't the same as... No, it's not Terror in Tokyo, never mind. Oh, is Terror in Resonance the one with those two guys who...
yeah, it's
Shinichiro
Watanabe,
yeah,
Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah. So where those two guys like plan all those attacks and... Okay.
And then to come down, TMS Entertainment, which kind of do filler shows, the Jitsu wa Watashi wa, it was a cute little show. It had some really fun moments. It's just a basic ecchi not even ecchi, I'll just say rom-com, where this guy meets a girl that's not a human, and he meets a bunch more girls like that. But it's a lot more grounded because it's just weird people literally trying to live incognito. So unlike Monster Musume, which is like the girls invade his life, he kind of accidentally invades theirs and gets involved in their personal issues. But that being said, I did watch the whole season and I was like, I enjoyed it. It wasn't like it's going to blow me away, but it was a decent slice of life. But then we have the superior slice of life by A1 Pictures, which is the third season of Working, which was amazing. Working
spot for it. Yeah.
Working is one of the best slice of life animes by far.
I have never watched it.
And you claim to be the feels on the wheels bus,
dude. But I've like honestly, real talk. This is actually my kind of first time seeing this.
Really?
Yeah, Working. I had no idea this series even existed.
Go watch the first season. It's literally just about a dude that works at a family restaurant to earn a bit of extra income as a high school student, and just kind of how he falls into these people's different lives. But they are such amazingly cute, funny and interesting skits that they do between these characters, and there's some actually genuinely intense moments, and the characters actually build over the seasons. And as from what I've heard, they do conclude it with the OVA, I think.
Yeah, it was one OVA.
Yeah, and then they conclude it.
Okay.
So cool. I mean, work and the animation, like I said, A1 Pictures, they really enjoyed this project. Like something so small for me though, but like the gradients on their hairs. You'll see all their hair has got like a base color and then gradients into a darker or lighter color, and that's consistent with the whole show, and it just adds such a higher level of quality to it. And then we've got Dragon Ball shit.
Dragon Ball Super. I have a few words about that.
No, everyone knows it's bad. We don't have to cover. We're looking at the good shows. Le Cher, I'm not going to even look at that because Gokuro Garashi really disappointed me. Chaos Dragon I heard was very average, but Silverlink, so it's like, really expect that from them. A bunch of girls fighting cameras, that's cool. Silverlink with more cool looking stuff. Classroom Crisis was so bad.
I have not touched it.
Damn. We're just gonna skip past that. I do love Rude Darkness the second.
How did I not know about this?
That's so terrible. Oh, Gatchaman came out this season. Gatchaman was really cool.
Gatchaman was interesting, especially Inside. It was... did you watch Gatchaman? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, just for not going into spoiler territory, it really took me back to the days of like Power Rangers, but done in a more serious tone. Then Power took itself a bit more seriously, I'd say. But it also had a lot to say about like the social... I mean, it's set in this world that's so like disproportionate from ours, and then all these amazing, fantastical things happen to these characters, and that contrast of something off-kilter happening in a seemingly like dystopian world is so interesting. It's such a good contrast. I really enjoyed Gatchaman for that.
Now, Gatchaman was really something that caught my eye, not only with that, but the thing that made me gravitate to was I saw some screenshots of the characters like in their, for lack of a better word, their suits, and the character design was so interesting. As you said, it's an old school throwback to like the Japanese superheroes, so like your Kamen Riders, your Power Rangers, that sort of thing, but done so well. And there was another one, Sarumitsu the Destroyer. It really reminded me of that, and that's old school fucking power suits. Men don't win, we just get fucked. So it was really cool. I dug that. Fate Collide Linear second season was just a lollipalooza. Idlemoss I hate, even though A1 Pictures does it. Simfig, yes, somehow getting funding for more seasons, fuck knows how. Venus Project Climax. And Lupin the Third, actually. Lupin the Third was really good.
I never actually got into the Lupin series, but at one point I heard Miyazaki did one of the movies, maybe? Yeah. I think that's what partially caught my interest, but besides that, no.
Yeah, that's I think a lot of people's initial exposure is the Miyazaki movie version. But for me, it's a really cool throwback to that like old school fucking vagabonding modern day Aladdin-ish type character, spy spoofing stuff. But it was just so cool. But now we're throwing back to 2014, which was such a strong year as well. Just the first rose. Power.
Before we jump into 2014, 2015 was actually one of the nicer rom-coms came out then, Oromonogatari. That was really sweet. Really sweet. But yeah, sorry, that's me going off on a tangent.
Yeah, so we had Tokyo Ghoul,
which
I know people enjoyed. But when I saw Studio Period pick it up from Naruto, because obviously this was when the series was kind of looping down to an end, I wanted to see what Tokyo Ghoul was all about. Obviously based off the edgy white kid manga. I don't know if both of you guys have watched it yet.
Tokyo Ghoul?
Tokyo Ghoul?
Yeah. So it's kind of everyone's watched it. I wasn't a big fan of the first series. I felt the second one really picked up a lot of steam with them, building the main character, him going from absolutely fucking pussy material to I'm going to kill everyone material. You don't see that sort of development with a 12 episode series often.
No, definitely.
And the character arc Kaneki goes through in season 1 as well was out of this world. I think like the end of the show was done so well at how he changes into that new person, that new persona.
Yeah.
Like after, of course, the infamous torture scene, counting backwards from, I think, 1007s.
Yeah, in increments of 7, And then kind of how it not only damaged him and changed him, some would argue for the better, but he is now like the extension of his torturer. So yeah, Tokyo Ghoul was phenomenal. Then we had A1 Pictures also picking up Sword Art Online 2. Both of you watched it, I assume?
I watched the first season, haven't never picked it up again.
I watched half of season 2.
You missed the second
Gun Girl stuff I watched. Yeah.
No, the second arc was really good, and it, as an anime, it touches on a subject that's almost taboo in Japan, because there's a couple of things you never see Japan really cover, which is like war, other ethnic races, things like the Crusades, just generally touchy things throughout history. And it actually deals with terminal illnesses in a way. And it takes a very different spin to it, and it becomes a lot more grounded. But then switching over that just to the right, we have a Kamaga Kill, which I know a lot of people have watched.
Edgy, the anime.
I call it more grey zone, the anime, because it's like, look at all these people, they're not good or bad, they just have personal dreams. But they can all die still, doesn't matter.
I like how Akame got killed, capitalized. I don't know if they did this intentionally, but the whole Game of Thrones hype, let's just kill off characters because shock value.
You know what, from White Fox, I think it would really be possible. Because again, as you say, you look at other studios like the gamers, they've definitely looked at their market and gone, there is a gap, we need to get it. I think Akame Kill literally looked at the West and said, there's not many gaps in Japan, but certain animes like Trigun and Cowboy Bebop, which are not really, people don't know of them in Japan very much. Like they know of them, but they're like, it's average. Is revered in the West, and that's where they make their sales of licensing, merchandising, etc. I think Akame Kill definitely banked off that. If we're not going to be successful in Japan, let's flick over to America, but they kept their tropes. Like they have their twin tail, pink haired tsundere. They have their tall, brandish, older sister type. They've got the young, influential main shonen type character. Rika, did you say you picked up a Kamiga Kill, or was it not something you got to?
No, it's not something I got to. I'm just trying to think. I can't remember if I've watched Our Haru Ride. The name seems familiar.
Aji might have been something you picked up.
Let me just check. Because I might be thinking of a different title entirely here.
No, you've picked up Aji. Let me navigate.
Yeah, please.
Come back here. Okay, but quickly while that loads, Mappa did Terror in Resonance. Yes. Just so you guys are aware.
That was a lot of fun.
I enjoyed the hell out of it. Insane show.
Yoshioka Futaba has a few reasons why she wants to
reset it wasn't this one, no.
Okay, well it looks ultra cute anyway.
Going back quickly on the Terror in Resonance thing, when Shinichiro Watanabe said he was doing this show, I had my expectations because obviously this is the guy who did Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, and Terror in Resonance, I hate to say it, but it might be my favorite show from him. For many reasons, just because the emotional aspect of that show is done so well in such a human way, and then the plot itself, even though you don't sort of root for the bad guys, but in this show it makes sense why they're doing things. It's sort of like a Viva Vendetta type thing where we're doing this anarchy, but we have a reason for it, sort of like the Joker did in The Dark Knight. So it follows that same themes of being in that moral gray area, that ambiguous type of thing. But the way Terror in Resonance does it, especially towards the end, is masterful. I have to give it credit for that.
Yeah, it's something definitely I'm about to watch, especially now that we've stocked it in the shop. So, and when I saw Watanabe involved, I was like, okay, now you've kind of caught my eye. But like I said, I am a fan of Mappa. They have been bringing it to the table a lot recently. So we'll just have to see what they do. But we are going to take a pause now quickly. Dead air. Just so I can see it's edit. Pause. Cool. So we then have Old Noah Zero, also by A1 Pictures. It was them kind of dabbling with 3D CGI in their mech genre because they've never really played with that.
Didn't that have like Watanabe's name slapped to it as well, or was it someone else? Because I can't remember, but I know they name dropped someone really big for that to hook people, but he was only involved in the first episode. Generabuchi.
Yes.
He was
first 3 episodes.
He was literally only involved for like such a short time, but a lot of people were excited about Old Noah Zero because he was supposedly involved, and it just kind of fell flat.
Well, not supposedly he was involved, but just for the first 3 episodes.
No, people were under the impression he was like involved in the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was just such a letdown.
And coming off the heat of Psycho Pass, how great of a show that was, and then going into Old Noah Zero, it's
because wasn't Generabuchi also involved in Gargantua of the Radiant Planet?
He was.
That was fucking fantastic.
Yeah,
I thoroughly enjoyed that. Thoroughly enjoyed that.
It was thoroughly good. I wouldn't say fantastic.
You know what? It was so comfy, actually. Like it's that's what I'm looking for. Like if I think about it, this guy arrives on a planet, he knows nothing of these people's language, their culture, and he kind of like assimilates these people's lifestyles. Like it sort of hints at him and that other chickie falling in love. I'm a sucker for that sort of thing. I thoroughly enjoyed Gargantua. So when I saw him name dropped here, I was also kind of hype on it, and yeah, I just set myself up for disappointment.
Well, I don't know. Have you seen Old Noah Zero, Sam?
I have, yes.
Okay, now I don't know if you'll agree with me because I kind of get this vibe from most people I talk with about with it. The first season, fantastic. We have a beginning, a middle, and a good conclusion, and it feels like it ends, and then you're like, oh wait, there's more. I don't know if you feel the same way.
More or less. Come to think of it, there's certain aspects in season 2 that I enjoyed a little bit more than season 1, but so far I'd say season 1 is just more consistent. Season for me, just because there's a lot of things that happen in the show, for just not going into spoiler territories, but a lot of unexpected things that happen that you're supposed to be shocked at, but you're not quite sure how to feel about it, and then in season 2 they just reaffirm that.
Yeah, again, I do agree. I know where you're coming from, I know what events you're talking about, But for me, it had the opposite effect because I was shocked in season 1. There were quite hectic things that happened. I mean, our main character almost feels like he's got a social disorder because he has no emotion. He's this rock solid, calculating, cold person. And he never develops. And there is a bit of a consequence to that character archetype that they developed. So, although Zero is just a season 1, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would actually probably give it in the region of like an 8-ish, 7.5-ish.
Yeah.
There were moments obviously where it dragged its feet. I'm not a fan of CGI in pretty much 90% of cases because it just does feel very disjointed. But there was a 60 frame version of Old No Zero as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was pretty interesting to watch because of the CG, because you have no cut frames. When CG moves, it's moving each frame. So in 60 frames, it actually looked quite nice. But then obviously Hanamonogatari, which was phenomenal. But we don't need to touch on it. But I think people are familiar with the Gatari series or not by the point we get to Hanamonogatari. Free, The Eternal Summer. Neither of you, really?
No.
Free was really good.
Join Swimsuit Guy and his friends, Swimsuits Guys, as they embark on a heartfelt journey of. I didn't watch the first season of the show because it seemed kind of gay.
It's so homoerotic.
no thanks.
It's homoerotic as fuck, dude. I absolutely adored it because it was so weird that these characters are. Again, they were somewhat self-aware that they are doing really weird things and that all having a girl's name was not normal. But then it felt so genuine, but the animation quality too, because it is pure animation, and they have I don't want to say taken a hiatus, but we have seen them kind of not around as much, and then they kind of indulge in things like, was it Maid Dragon? Correct me if I'm wrong, Sam.
Maid Dragon.
Maid Dragon.
Maid Dragon.
I think Maid Dragon was Kyoani.
Yeah, it is
but I'm not-
Kyoani,
I'm not
yeah.
100%
And
sure.
also Phantom World. I think that came out last year.
Yes,
There was
and that's
Kyoani as
just
well.
that was just a titty meme for days. So, you know what? Free was a lot more genuine in its approach to it being about, you know, these are guys that swim, they enjoy it. There's different relationship aspects between them in terms of like betrayal, in terms of a sports sense, not a personal sense. And I could appreciate that. Again, I think people just go intimidated because they say it's like these guys in like high school and they're all ripped like they've been fucking gymming their whole life for surviving in the wild. Obviously to appeal to their female fan base.
Yeah.
Because I mean the one guy's lats are like fucking broader than some people's whole body. But you know, say what you want, they really captured the female demographic with that. It's still really chatted about in the Fujoshi forum, so
No, definitely. Tumblr blew up that day.
Yeah.
Just, you know.
the ladies were going crazy, which is cool. I think we need to cater them to a little bit more in that regard. And then Tokyo ESP, either of you gents watched?
I watched the first couple of episodes. Wasn't interested.
Okay, it was kind of like a prequel to Gare Zero. And it had the same syndrome as Gare Zero in the sense that it's like, okay, the first 3 episodes we're going to go crazy with budget. People are going to think this is a fucking movie. And then you do think the first 3 episodes are a movie because they do spend all their budget there and then it just fucking runs away into the trash. So it starts off good but wasn't great. And let's see what else it was. Scroll.
Class Slip. Just gonna go over that quickly.
You enjoyed it? Was it good? Was it better? I haven't
Terrible
watched
show.
it.
One of them.
No, we're not talking about terrible shows. We're talking about good
so
shows.
Terrible.
We're talking about good shows.
Wars.
Let's see another Dramatical Murder. That was really cool. Don't know if either of you watched it.
Oh, what's this?
Dramatical Murder. Here where my mouse is.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I have not seen that at all now.
It's just, I don't know, yeah, it's action psychological sci-fi. That's pretty much what I'd call it. It's this really trippy, I wouldn't want to say dystopian type anime, but it is very futuristic and thinking. There's a lot of psychological aspect to it.
Yeah, judging off the pack shot, it actually does seem pretty cool.
Yeah. So that was something that I thoroughly enjoyed, but again, if either of you haven't watched it, I'm not going to go too much into detail.
Can I say Rail Wars is just so underrated? It's actually one of the shows that just went under the radar as a season, but the comedy in this is so great. I had a blast with it.
Where are you spotting Rail Wars?
Right there.
There. Oh no, there, Rail Wars.
Rail Wars, yeah.
No, you know what? It was on my radar to watch for a bit, but you know, you get a little bit sidetracked and you go with things you know versus you don't. Speaking of, Space Dandy,
Dandy.
Season 2, oh my god. Again, like we were discussing with some previous anime, Space Dandy was one of those things I put off for the longest time, and I only got to watch the first season, like literally, I think this year, if I'm not mistaken. And it was such a phenomenal watch.
I've only watched, like, I think 3 episodes of the first season, but it's one of those seasons like I want to watch it. It's just I feel you have to be in a very kind of like specific mood to want to sit down and watch it. Or is that just me? I don't know.
It sort of falls into the same bracket as like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. You can't just watch it. You know, you have to be in that mood to watch it.
No, I'm gonna pump the brakes on that note and hope you guys have your seatbelts on because I strongly disagree. I think Space Dandy is one of those shows where you don't, regardless of what kind of mood you are, you've had a crap day, you've had a good day, and I think it will just take you to a good place emotionally because you say you haven't watched all of it. You've watched everything?
I've watched season 1, not season 2.
You see,
Okay.
I got up to like the ramen episode, like where
There's an episode with a dog that was so uncannily good for what Space Dandy, because Space Dandy sets it up as, you know, there's hooters in space, there's titties, there's adventure, and it's fun and crazy because every other story arc's done by a different director, which is a cool idea. There's a fucking episode with a fucking dog and it was so fantastic. I don't know if you can agree with Sam?
If it's what I'm thinking of, then yeah, that one caught me off guard.
On the junkyard?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, same one.
So-
Definitely caught me off guard.
So Space Dandy for me, again, I know what you're saying, but because every 2 to 3 episodes is a different story arc and deals with a different, almost like these directors have a different like philosophy they want to get off their chest in terms of like things they want to say about people or scenarios or whatever they want to do. I feel that literally, regardless of your mood, if you're having a bad day, you watch it to have a better day. If you're having a good day, you watch it to have an even better day. So Space Dandy for me is one of those absolute gems. Love. 10 out of 10 would literally recommend to anyone who's lived anything remotely in their life. I don't know, out of the show, have you guys got anything good to say about the Lollapalooza Love Stage or Jinsei?
No, I don't know. Love Stage looks like a modern masterpiece, you know, it's the icon of our time.
The story revolves around Uzumi Sena, a boy turned into a family of ultra famous entertainers. However, this man is grabbing him very aggressively. Yeah, I'm not engaging in that. Thank you. Got cute little JC staff doing lolly witches. That's all fun. Persona 4 was so bad.
No, I think if you played the game, you'd maybe be able to follow the anime a bit more because you're aware of a lot of the in jokes of the game. But even when I was watching it, I thought, you know, if you haven't actually played this, you're going to miss out on so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
And then Psycho Pass.
Oh, is that the second season?
No, it's the revised version of the original
yeah.
series and recuts into the 11 1-hour episodes. So that's still
24 episodes.
no, that's a little bit more, in fact.
22.
Because an
No, it's
episode
going to be
is
about 20.
well, it
Yeah,
says
I think-
1 hour episodes, but
because-
yeah, it says 45 minutes, so it's literally the same length.
It's strange
That's
because the
amazing.
original had 22 episodes, so this makes no sense why they would just
Cut down into
11
episodes double the length.
Yeah.
That being said, though, regardless of how that shenanigan came out, Psycho Pass, I haven't watched it myself. It is on my to watch list. I have got it, but I know everyone just sings praises through the roof. of it.
I will admit, without spoiling, the villain that you're first introduced to, like that blonde guy, I really enjoyed him, especially the scene where they first find out what's happening to his like criminal counter and stuff.
Yeah.
I really freaking like that. That was really cool. So yeah, watch it, Byron.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah,
with the
definitely
times,
get on
man.
it.
Get with the
It's-
times.
I know that it came out with the season where production IG were feeling a little bit adventurous yet cautious at the same time, because Robotics Notes actually came out the same season, and that is 1-to-1 with, you know, these are our tropes, these are our mechanics, these are our archetypes, these are our formulas, you know. And it was a very safe anime with a girl that builds robots and stuff. It looked amazing, and it had 1 or 2 genuinely off-putting moments in terms of like it made you feel uneasy from an emotional point of view in a very horror type of way, which is very rare for anime. But apart from that, it was average. It was okay. It was a safe watch. You're not gonna hate it, but you're not gonna sing praises about. Whereas Psycho Pass, they went off the rail. It's totally, you know, off the wall type of anime. It's got different themes into it. The animation's unconventional, especially for RG. And I think they threw it, and it hit, and it landed, and it stayed, because, you know, it got a second season, it got a movie, and people still rave about it.
Yeah.
And this might be an overstep for me. I don't know if you guys can agree, but I think it was probably the last really good and creative anime that came out from RG.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Well, Ghost in the Shell Arise, I wouldn't really call that creative.
No, I'd call that rubbish.
I'll call it rubbish.
It's
Yeah.
so bad. It makes no sense. But then, you know, RGF have made an appearance in the later season with that ballroom dancing anime that literally feels like, okay, well, we can't do ice game. People are going to know what's up.
We want the Yuri on Ice audience.
Yeah, we need to recapture that audience, and they haven't filed for something this season, so hey, that's a gap.
Yeah, and that's. I'm not surprised if that show takes a turn into Yaoi territory. Like, not at all.
No, and it looks like they've really brought the first team for the production RG crew in terms of the animation. It looks amazing. The two preview videos look phenomenal, but as you say, it's blatantly trying to hit the Euro and Ice market. And for me, why not just do the same thing as you did with Psycho Pass in terms of get your B team to animate it, make it an okay anime. You're going to capture that audience because there's literally no competition, so you're literally running against no one to guarantee to get first in some way. And then do something a little bit more out the box. Or I don't know if they've got any. Maybe they ran out of creative producers, but I mean, this is 3 years down the line. Obviously, we are skipping the in-between seasons of winter, spring, and autumn. But I'd like to think that, you know, they haven't done anything that's jumped out. I mean, the most of their creative stuff has been Psycho Pass Season 2, Psycho Pass the movie.
I mean, the timelines sort of sync up if you think about when Studio Wit was formed. And then, you know, out of the guys who left Production IG, or it was like a subsidiary type of thing of Production IG. So...
No, 100%. I mean, it's the same thing like when Studio Trigger was formed because, not Production IG, guys that did Fulukuli?
Gainax.
Yes,
Gainax.
Gainax. Gainax came out a lot of fire with Kill la Kill because of copyright issues, and they were like, oh yeah, we're going to drop it, we won't produce it anymore, but then they formed the studio called Trigger, literally moved all their best animators and directors to it, and we're like, yo, but it's not us, so you can't sue us. And drop the project, and there was this whole weird loophole that they got into, and then Trigger was formed. So now, like, effectively, Gainax have two studios. You know, they have fucking Gainax and Trigger. But as you say, with Wit Studio as well, because Production RG were originally meant to do Attack on Titan as a film, not a full series, and the original trailer was like, you know, Eren on the wall fighting, cannons explosion, but it was just the fight scenes, and it was just going to be an explosive action movie. Then they actually dropped the project, and as you say, they formed this like sub-studio almost, sent some of their better animators to it, not only the good directors though, formed Wit Studio and then did Attack on Titan, and now that's kind of formed as its own like studio. I mean, so yeah, again, Production IG, fantastic in 2014-15, I don't really feel them bringing it in 16 or 17, but then that concludes that. So I mean, so would you guys safely agree then, comparing summer 2017 to the 3 previous years, I feel like 2017 has really dropped the ball. It's just all this weird pandering, low budget, low key, trashy, shitty anime versus like 2014, 2015 where we had just fucking power. I mean, the first line had more anime that I wanted to watch than the whole of 2017 put together.
I do think that I don't know, 2017 might surprise us. We never know, because I'm sure, you know, back in 2014 when they were looking at the upcoming releases, they might have had the same feeling, but not really. I think we'll have to kind of wait and see how 2017 actually turns out. But in terms of actual excitedness for the anime, I mean, I'm not feeling it at all. You know, I'm happy that Eromanga Sensei's happened now because it gives me something to talk shit about, but that's about it. You know, if the best part of the current season is that there's anime that's so trash, you know, you can talk more shit about it. It's kind of worrying.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said. Even, you know, again, just to quickly recap 2017, I don't recall any of the major players playing, because when we first covered it, RG are there, but with the ballroom dancing, A1 Pictures has picked up Fate from, I think the previous Fate was done by UFO Table. So that was them. UFO Table are doing a quite interesting anime, so they've at least come. Shaft has come. Bones have taken a seat back. I didn't see Bones this season.
I don't think Bones is yet.
We've got Mappa, but it looks low key. We've got JC Soft also picking up quite an interesting style, but again, bird hits and miss because JC love to not finish
Production
anime.
IG's here as well.
That's what I said. They're with the dancing anime, and then their second team's doing
Literally who?
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't.
No, that's the second. That's like the interns doing a project. Like, I'm not even shitting you, because they do have 2 subsidiaries of studios. Who else are we missing? Like I said, Bones is not here. Kyoano is not here.
Madhouse. I don't see anything.
Madhouse are not here. So we really, like I said, we've got all these fucking random studios now popping up. We've got Studio Dean and Silverlink doing way more stuff than they should be. Pine Jam, which is a brand new studio. I don't know if people have formed something else. Zero G, and
we want the swim.
They're not free.
Swim free.
Yeah, we want them
Not
swimming
free.
pesos.
I don't know. Quite is actually still one of my more. Oh shit! The first episode's out.
Oh no, the first season is pretty much the new season's underway. The first couple episodes have already started dropping,
Hype.
and then in about 2 days, the whole season will have a full debut already.
Because
So.
I remember the last time we were talking, I said I was quite excited for Quetu, so I'll watch that. But who knows? I think we might be setting up for maybe what's going to be a really kick-ass fall and winter stage this year, but summer it can kind of go eat a dick.
Well, again, they've done fuck all this season, so to make that money back, I think they're gonna have to really get the main studios back on board. Maybe they have just taken a break. I know some studios like Bones are finishing up like Boku no Hero, Boku no Hero season 2.
Yeah.
So I know they technically are busy with that, and they haven't really got a big enough studio to do 2 anime projects like IG and whatnot. But it's a bit discerning when, again, as we see, every previous summer that all the big studios have played really well, none of them pretty much came to the table. Again, Shaft they're good, but they're kind of doing the same thing. They play with their safe IPs, you know. Same for UFO Table, they're doing an action fantasy. Same for A1 Pictures, they're doing action fantasy. They're playing to their strengths. So again, we're not seeing anything crazy.
I mean, when the standout show of your season is a ballroom dancing show, then you have a problem.
Hey,
So-
it's probably going to make tons of money. It's probably going to be wildly successful, and we're going to fucking have to eat a big shit sandwich. That is our words. But yeah, I think that concludes it. And I think those are our final thoughts, so we're just going to end it off here. Way sound effects.